Going live on video. Stand by for audio. Good day and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So today, yes, once again, sorry, I grabbed another new guest co-host for you. It's a hard life these days. Just stumble across people left and right. Yes, I've talked before on there's now these agencies and that connect you with people, but this gentleman did not come from an agency or whatever they're calling themselves these days. This came from the good old-fashioned power of word of mouth and networking, and most importantly, with awesome influencers. So shout out to Tom and Andre. We'll probably talk about you guys today, but let's just dig into this guy. So he's been named a top 8, not 10, top 8 podcaster to watch in 2018 by Inc.com, and has chosen as an icon of influence. There's a title, icon of influence in the new media space. So what started out as a way to connect with top people and inspire others has become a way of life for him. Now getting played in over 100 countries every single week, he's able to make a greater impact than he could ever imagine. He not only speaks to organizations on how to overcome adversity and utilize podcasting to grow your business, but he helps others launch and grow their own podcasts as well with beginpodcastingnow.com. But without further ado, because we're going to talk about something powerful called the Growth Now Movement, Justin Schenck, welcome to the show, sir.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about the conversation. Before you hit record, we just were rapping, and I think we're going to have a great conversation. You're like, wait, let's just record this because we can talk about this on the show.
Well, and the best part is you're that happens to me all the time too.
Yeah, all the time. I'm like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, the good stuff doesn't get recorded. It's just how it goes.
Well, that's what frustrates me because I'm like, I catch myself doing this all the time. And I'm like, oh God, let's just stop. Let's just stop our conversation, hit record. And you were just joking around. You just did that with a guy. Like you literally hit record in the middle of his sentence.
Yeah, it should be coming out in a week or two, that episode. And the episode's literally going to start out with him mid-sentence because I was like, this is too good not to get.
It's just going to go from like intro and then boom, right into his sentence.
I'll say something in the intro. Like, I know this is going to start off a little weird, but the guy was just dropping knowledge. And I honestly think he thought I was recording, but I wasn't. So
Okay. I've actually had somebody mention that to me one time too. They're like, oh, did you already hit record? I'm like, no, we've just been shooting the crap this whole time, dude. Like, we should probably pause and maybe rewind some of this. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, actually, let's catch the listeners up. I just gave a shout out to Tom Schwab and Andre Young helping us getting connected. Actually, I think it was Andre first because I was actually just down at his house. I've known him now for almost 2 years, and I was coming down to Reading on business, and I was like, I just happened to text him like the day before. I'm like, yo, dude, are you going to be around? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I've got my mobile kit. I'll throw it in the car if we can cross paths. I love doing live in-person stuff instead of just being in the home studio like this. So have you ever had that kind of thing too, where you're just like, you know what, let's go off the cuff, man. Like, let's catch up in person, or are you always behind the mic in the home studio?
So I've done 1 or 2 live. I end up, because I interview people all over the place. I've probably had like 3 local people on my show, but I've ended up interviewing people, I think, from like 5 or 6 different countries. A lot of my people are on the West Coast. So I do a majority of my shows like this. Mm-hmm. I would like to see it grow into more in-person and live. And there's a small organization here locally called Small Business Resource Association, and I actually do their podcast too.
Oh, nice.
And I do that in person. So I do get the feel. I love the in-person thing. It makes a different connection.
Totally.
For sure. But it was weird. I had Ed Milet on my show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I was chatting with him, and he goes, you know what's really weird? He goes, the fact that we were forced to stare at each other the whole time. He goes, I feel like this is a really effective way. He's like, I do mine in person, but if you watch me on YouTube, I'm not constantly looking in the eyes of the person. He's like, right. It's like with this, you get super connected.
Well, it's funny because like I'm first at like I'm looking at you, so to speak, but I'm actually looking at my webcam, right?
Yeah.
So like I have a laptop here. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm directing on video. So if you see this on YouTube, you'll see what I'm doing. But to the listeners, I'm pointing to my left, which is my laptop screen. Directly in front of me is my secondary monitor. And then I have my webcam up to the right on a flexible arm. And then obviously I have my boom mic and everything else. So everybody's got a different home studio look and feel.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I was a little bit different than you. I did a lot of in-person stuff. because I have no problem throwing myself to the wolves. So when I got my show going, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to just try and reach out to people that I know that are good influencers locally and just start recording with them. And also just the power of going to conferences. So actually, you and I were just chatting before the show about shout out to Joe Pardo, who founded Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference. And when I launched this show, we launched September of 2016. I had just bought a ticket down to my first attendance of MapCon. And I thought I'd time it that way. And I brought my gear with me. And I actually did live recordings at that event for my show because I'm like, hey, I'm a new podcaster. I'm going to go to a conference to immerse myself to try and figure this out more. And let's score a couple recordings maybe. Like if I hadn't brought the gear, I wouldn't be ready to, snatch a few up. So I was a little bit different than you. I was just I'm just throwing myself in the wolves. I kind of do that to myself all the time.
Yeah. It's, man, it's funny. I started podcasting 2.5 years ago and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't do the proper amount of research. I used to have a co-host. The show didn't do well at all for the first year and a half. Like I was probably doing between 100 to 200 downloads an episode. And when I started to figure it out and I started to spend time with other podcasters, that's when I started to grow the audience, right? So like I asked my co-host to take a step back and I really kind of doubled down on being genuine and authentic and like, how do I tell the right story? And now I'm doing between 10 and 15,000 downloads an episode.
Nice.
So it's been like this organic growth, but for the first year and a half, there was no growth because I did everything wrong. So you did it the right way by immersing yourself in learning, and jumping right in that way. But I jumped in completely wrong.
Well, let's be real. The journey is still going to be a struggle, right? I think I love your branding of growth now, right? And we were literally, this is actually perfect timing. I was at a dinner last night. A local restaurant here was recently on one of the Gordon Ramsay shows. Like he comes in and does this.
I saw it. Yeah. I saw that.
Was that the Shanty 19th? It's on 19th here in Allentown. So anyway, I was like, you know what? I didn't like it before. So I was like, let's give him another shot. Still wasn't impressed. Anyway, different story.
They still have to execute after Gordon Ramsay tries to fix it.
I was like, I feel like they kind of went back to some of the stuff they were doing before. Sure. Anyway, I mean, the new decor is nice. One of the new entrees on the menu was nice. It was bacon wrapped pork loin. And I had just competed in a CrossFit competition yesterday. And my fiance also competed too. So we were starving. So I was like, I don't care at this point. Let's just lock it down, man. But
reward yourself, right?
Exactly. A friend of hers was at dinner with her husband, and we were catching up, and they're childhood friends, and she was talking about her career struggle, and she left a comfortable job of 8 years to go to a different almost competitor, and she's frustrated and everything else. And we're talking about, I was like, listen, like the frustration and the stress and not knowing what you're doing is annoying at first, but let's be real. Did you forget about your first year with that company 8 years ago? Like that comfort came from you going through all that crap before. Like you just have to remind yourself of that. I mean, that goes back to podcasting too. Like every time I try something new and different with this show, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, is it going to work? Is it not? I mean, do you still do some of that trial and error stuff to this day?
It's funny. After my 100th episode, which I'm at about 170 now, I added a second episode a week. So I do like a 5-minute Friday type of thing, which I call my weekly moment of growth.
Okay.
And it's just me, right? And so I was really, really nervous about that because at this point I'd already learned that podcast listeners are creatures of habit. I'm blessed and honored that they show up every single Tuesday and spend 45 minutes to an hour with me. And so here I am like throwing this extra thing in, and actually my numbers dropped.
Interesting.
They dropped, but and then they slowly climb back up. But it was an interesting kind of take on like, let me play with this a little bit and see how people are going to react. And then just recently I had a guy on my show who is like the vocal awareness coach for like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Angelina Jolie and like all these massive people.
I'm sorry, vocal awareness coach.
Yes.
Okay.
Which I was like, what does that even mean?
I was going to say, I'm right there with you. I'm like, okay.
He's not a public speaking coach. Like he doesn't teach you how to public speak, but he teaches you how to find your real voice. And it's an interesting thing. And so in the episode, I didn't interview the guy. Like I didn't talk about his story at all. He just coached me. And so it was him for 45 minutes coaching me. And the response that I've gotten from that episode has been outstanding. And so
Really?
I think I might do a little bit more of that, of like bringing people on to actually coach me, because I'm very, very coachable. Like
Yeah.
I'm willing to learn and get better, and I know I'm not the best. And
Right there with you.
so, dude, it was the most uncomfortable 45 minutes of my life working with this guy. But everybody was loving it. And I'm still getting people. Like, actually went and had some drinks with a friend last night, and she was like, oh, that episode was incredible. And so
What episode? We're going to link that in the show notes. What episode was that?
That's a great question. Let me look that up really quick.
Yeah.
I'm the worst with that stuff, dude.
I'll take a note here and then let me know. And I want to make sure we link that into the blog content.
Episode 165.
165. Yeah, we want to link because I want to go back and listen to that one because I love that. I love the. You know, here obviously clearly, I think it's fun finding people that are more obsessed about podcasting than I am, and I don't do it for a living, so to speak. But you and I were just talking before the show about how people monetize shows differently or choose not to. And like my fiance loves Joe Rogan podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand the fact that I have to skip the first 6 to 8 minutes because he's just vomiting commercials for literally 6 to 8 minutes. And I'm like, dude, stop. But I get it.
6 figures every episode. Like
again, but here's the deal though, dude, that dude he already had a reputation. He already had a brand. Yeah. And like my fiance is like, oh, when are you going to do the same thing to your show? And I'm like, babe, I wasn't the star of Fear Factor and an MMA fighter and the guy who's on all the MMA fights. Like, it's a different world. You can't just extrapolate the same best practices, if you want to call them that, across all shows. It's not that way.
Yeah.
And like, we're talking about how, okay, I technically have monetized my show because I've had companies send me, products and stuff like that. And I've, if I like them, I'll throw them a quick plug, but they're not a sponsor. I just say, hey, if I love, like, there's a company I love that it's a Filipino nut. It's one of the healthiest nuts on the planet. Eat pili nuts. Love them. Best snack nut ever. I'm a big keto guy and health and fitness nuts. So I was like, hey, I'll throw them a plug once in a while. I blast them on social media every time I have a new box of nuts showing up. That's right, people. I have favorite nuts.
I've never even heard of these nuts.
Oh man, you are missing out. I mean, the richest concentration of magnesium I've ever seen in a snack food. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, you're missing out. But anyway, the point here is that, I've also gained a marketing client. Like, I'm helping him grow his, he crushes it. Like, you ever hear of Vinny Tortorich?
Mm-mm.
So he runs the successful podcast for 7 years now, Fitness Confidential. He guest stars on the Adam Carolla podcast. So Adam Carolla has the Guinness record for most downloaded podcast.
Yeah, most downloaded show or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So it's like, okay, so that guy, he calls it the Carolla effect. Like, whenever he goes on Carolla's show, his show grows. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I couldn't even imagine getting on a show like Joe Rogan or Ed Milet, and your sole purpose was to go and plug your show. Like, you'd have a massive jump. I mean, especially for me, because I'm in self-development. If I got on Ed Milet's show, I'm still trying, by the way. I still talk to Ed on a regular basis. Still trying. I'm not famous enough.
Well, and here's the best part. Vinny never wanted to go on his show per se to plug his own show. It's just Vinny is the celebrity fitness trainer. Like, he spent his whole career in LA. Like, he knows a lot of well-to-do people in LA. So enough people had mentioned his name through the grapevine. They kept saying, oh, you got to get this guy on your show to talk about health and fitness. And they finally reached out to him. And that's how Adam and him became friends. They're not friends for years now because Vinny's the health and fitness guy, and Adam loves bringing him on and just talking crap and having fun. So, cool. But it's funny how that it just naturally happens. And then Vinny became friends with Dr. Drew, and Dr. Drew is obviously if you remember way back, it was the Adam and Dr. Drew show or whatever it was called.
Love Line or something.
Yeah, the Love Line.
Yeah, so it was on the radio.
Yeah, so between Drew and Adam, they still do. They have like 3 or 4 different shows, all podcasts now. They still do their thing. And then Vinny sometimes pops in on a couple of them. So, and then Vinny, I've been on Vinny's show, Vinny's been on my show, and now Vinny's one of my clients. So it's just funny how that stuff just works out.
That's exactly the point, right? And we talked about, like, we didn't have this celebrity before we started the show. And I said to you before we hit record, like, I tell everybody that comes to me and says, I want to start a show. I ask them why. And they're like, oh, I want to grow an audience, blah, blah. And I was like, look, the first thing we need to realize is that 80% of these shows are doing less than 100 downloads an episode. And all of a sudden, like I'll pay attention to the reaction. If they're like completely bummed out and upset, I won't work with them.
No.
But I've interviewed people that have become clients. Natalie Jill, we talked about her. She was on my show. Then she became a client. Cindy Eckert, who was actually just on Tim Ferriss's show not that long ago. She's a client of mine. Because she was on my show, and I was like, why don't you have a podcast? And she's like, oh, I don't understand podcasting. And I was like, I kind of understand podcasting.
You don't have to understand it. I'll understand it for you.
Yeah, all you got to do is sit down and have a conversation. And she's actually the founder of Female Viagra, by the way. If you want to go off on a tangent, I didn't even know that existed.
Really?
I didn't even know it existed. She sold.
I didn't know there was some type of female Viagra. I'm not sure if are they actually using that branding?
It's called. No, she actually tries to avoid that branding. It's called Addy.
Just Addy.
Yeah, it's called Addy. I'm sure it's short for whatever the actual medical term of the drug is, but yeah, it's an interesting thing, and it's funny because she sold the company for $1.2 billion.
Of course,
the company that bought it got in trouble for selling it for too much, and they gave her back the company.
What?
For free. Yeah.
Okay, that I've never even heard of.
It's unreal. Like they're like, we'll give it back to you. You run it again. We just want, like, it was a small percentage of what.
Because they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. They got in trouble. And when a drug company gets in trouble, forget it. They'll go bankrupt in a day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Addy, ADDYI.
Yep.
Try it today for $25 a month.
Oh, that's cheap.
This one little pink button on here. Hold on, I'm gonna do some screen sharing for you. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, on the YouTube, we love you guys too. I mean, obviously podcasting audio rules, but I like to show some love to the video world too. But yeah, look at that. Right there, a big pink button.
Yeah.
Right today, $25 a month.
There you go. There's 2 asterisks next to it. So
I know, right? Like, well, what does that mean? Okay.
Yeah.
There's always some fine print going on here. And then here's your fancy science word, flabanserin.
Yeah, good luck.
AKA Addy.
Yeah, I wonder, I should have asked her. Like, I talked to her on occasions. She's my client, but I talk to her team more than I talk to her. But I should ask her, like, where that name even came from.
Yeah. Very interesting. We got pictures of brains and everything else on here. Oh, well, enough about that. My thing is this. It's still a drug, right? So yeah. I'm such a health and fitness nut. I have no problem reminding people that, guys, all forms of pharmaceuticals are just a medical Band-Aid. You haven't found the root cause. Now,
right.
That's a whole different podcast. So, but since I'm already screen sharing, boom. Oh,
look, that's me. Look at that.
GrowthNowMovement.com. Huh?
Yeah, you should check out, I'm plugging myself here, gnmlive.com, which is my live event that's coming up. But that is,
I forgot you have a separate URL for that.
It's gnmlive.com.
GNM Live.
Yeah, I know. I like, so it's funny. So the guy who built this website didn't build the other website.
Oh yeah. You didn't like him? Or,
yeah, I don't want to, just in case I listen to this, I didn't like the other guy, but yeah, so that's why they don't link, but
yeah. I mean, obviously, so that helps the listeners understand this, right? So like, okay, Growth Now Movement, that's your core brand. Mm-hmm. Thanks to you having success growing your brand, and as I hinted before you and I started recording the show, I geek out about branding, so I have to bring this in, right? We talk about health, business, and lifestyle on the show. So it's awesome that you've literally been able to build a lifestyle, a freedom lifestyle, so to speak, by living in the podcast domain. But now you've grown your brand enough to the point where you have the cojones to launch your own live event.
Yeah.
Right here in Pennsylvania.
Dude, it's extremely nerve-wracking, but exciting at the same time. Like, this is really always, I feel like I had the live event in my head before I even had the podcast, right? And so for me to finally be able to kind of bring it to real life is exciting, but again, it's scary. Like, it's a massive financial undertaking. Mm-hmm. People don't realize that.
Events aren't cheap.
Dude, it's amazing how many people are like, yo, dude, just give me a free ticket. There's a cost to that. I can't just give you a free ticket.
Plus, I don't believe in free.
Right.
I've done this. I've spent years in sales and marketing. When you get something for free, there's no skin in the game. There's no commitment. I'd rather see people pay up front and then, like, okay, maybe you credit them later, right? It's like, okay, if you're serious, fine, buy in, commit. That way you show the hell up, because I want to pack the seats. I don't want you getting a free ticket and then, I don't feel like coming, or I got distracted. Like, if I drop 2 G's on an event out West, like, I'm going to an event out West. Like, I've dropped 2 G's on it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the thing, man. Like, You're 100% right. And there are events out west that they do that. Like you could buy a ticket and you get refunded when you get there. Like it's a reward to show up. But if you don't show up, you don't get your money back.
Yeah.
But I also know when companies do that, they're going to then sell me something.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I'm not. So the cool part about my event is I'm not selling anything from the stage. It's literally come and make a big impact in your life. There's celebrity speakers like Fabio Viviani and Sarah Centrella and Albie Manzo from Real Housewives of New Jersey. And, I feel blessed with the relationships that I've built that I can now give what I've been able to do over the last 2.5 years to other people and make those connections and allow those interactions. And so just really, really excited to be able to kind of bring that here to Reading. There's already people coming from 9 states in Canada to attend, which is wild.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because people are like, well, you can't do something like this in Reading. There's no airport there. I'm like, watch me.
Oh, come on. Oh, you're surrounded by airports. You got Harrisburg, you got Philly, and Newark still isn't even that far. So
exactly. It's only an extra hour. I mean,
and you got DC. People go shoot up from the DC airport if they wanted to.
Exactly. Yeah, man. It's going to be a game-changing event and just something I'm really excited about. But like you said, you build this brand and then you go, everybody was like, what's next? And, I was finally glad that I could start talking about this. And I'm like, this is what's next. And my goal is to, grow it year over year. But the crazy part of the story is like, I have a massive fear of live events because I used to own a company where I did seminars and expos. And I did that as a part-time side thing for about 2 years and pretty much saved all the money that I was making with a business partner. And we decided to dump it all into this one event. We paid a speaker a lot of money. I won't say his name because he didn't refund us. We paid a speaker a lot of money to come speak at the event. I think we ended up spending double on advertising what we paid him. So it was like we were like 30 grand in. And at the time I was 25 and broke. So we're like 30 grand into this event and we sold 3 tickets to it.
Ooh.
Oh, and by the way, all 3 tickets were sold through Groupon, which if you know how Groupon works, you have to cut the price in half and then you only get half of what you're getting paid. It was a nightmare.
I know a lot of people in the CrossFit and the fitness space, and it drives me nuts when I hear that their primary marketing budget is centered on Groupon. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You want to do that once a year just to get like a little infusion of new faces. Fine. That is not proper advertising and marketing.
No, it's not at all. Like, and the reality is like, when you're doing a live event and you're solely just, it's the tickets that are giving you money pretty much. Like it's important that I actually sell these tickets at the price that's there. I mean, that's just business. In business 101, you got to make money with everything you're doing because it's your time, it's your energy, it's your passion, it's all that stuff.
That it's your own skin in the game, right? Yeah. It's not just you're asking people to come to an event and put their skin in the game to put their butts in the seats. But they have to be reminded like, dude, I had to put my own skin in the game as your host, as your event founder, creator, manager. When you're doing your first event,
all the things,
it's all you, dude. Yeah. I mean, unless you're lucky enough to have one hell of an inner circle or mastermind group that, is loyal and is there to back you up. So by the way, do you have some of that?
So that's a great question. So I do have a mastermind that I run for podcasters. And actually the day before the event, I'm running a half-day mastermind. For anybody who buys a VIP ticket, they can come to the half-day mastermind for podcasting,
that's smart. Joe Pardo does that with MapCon. It's always actually after the event. Actually, so it's like that Sunday. So we'll do it Friday, Saturday, and then do it Sunday.
So I have the 7 speakers, and then I'm inviting 20 movement makers. So these are people that have been on my show, who've impacted my life, who've really kind of done it. So I have like Sean Thomas, who's Ask a Millionaire on Instagram. I have Justin Wren, who's actually right over my shoulder. He's a Bellator MMA fighter. He's been on Rogan's podcast 6 times. He's coming in. I have an Olympic bronze medalist coming, social media experts, and we're doing a half-day mastermind the day after with the movement makers and the speakers. And then I have a VVIP ticket level, which there's only 6 left. There's 4 sold, but 6 left that are $2,000. But you get dinner with the speakers, and then you get to come to the mastermind.
Yep.
And really
do the same thing at Thrive. I don't know if you've ever seen the Thrive event, but
so I haven't. I would like to go though. That's who's the guy who runs that?
Cole Hatter.
Yeah, that's right, Cole Hatter. I think Nick Santonastasso spoke at it this last year.
Yeah, I've gone the past 3 years, and it's a powerful event. I mean, I've talked on this show before. I mean, for the listeners, I mean, obviously we're here to chat about growth now and what inspired you to create this, but maybe this event doesn't click with you. I'm always reminding people, like, find an event that might click with you and just go. It's worth it. Get outside your comfort zone and put yourself and in an environment where you're surrounding people that are at your level or maybe below your level or above your level. There's going to be a conundrum of all of that. So I love events.
Yeah, and dude, and that's exactly the thing. Like, it's events that have changed my life. And I just posted something on Facebook the other day that got a massive reaction where I was like, just because you speak on stages doesn't mean you can't learn from people speaking on stages. Like, I speak all over the country, and it's usually on podcasting or relationship building or whatever. But I go to more events than probably most people. But what I do differently is I actually take action afterwards.
Yep. I
think that's the thing. And you do the same stuff. Like, you're not going just to get the rah and you feel great, because that happens too. Like, you feel really good after an event, but it's about the action you take afterwards. Like,
yeah, the biggest mistake I've learned, because we've all had to learn that, right? I mean, I've lost track of how many years now, but I'm a huge advocate for personal professional growth. And the biggest mistake that I've seen, because I've also made those mistakes years ago, is people go to these events. Obviously, I just told the listeners, like, you need to go to an event, right? So you go to Growth Now Movement, and the biggest failure, I should say, and failure is a strong word, but the biggest failure that I can see is if you do not set some type of game plan ahead of time to figure out how you're going to keep that energy flowing after the event. Because every event I go to, you're high. You're pumped. If you're very outgoing, you meet all these amazing people, you make all these connections, and then it's 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, 2 months later, and the steam has dissipated, right? Yeah. And the locomotive is now stuck at the station.
You're exactly where you were before.
Right. And then they're like, oh man, I got to get back to another event. Well, do you? Or maybe that one event was already expensive enough and you're like, oh my God, I can't afford to go till next year. Some people are in that budgetary role. It's like, well, okay then. So what can you do to reinvest back into that event? Like, what did you learn? How do you keep it going? Like, do you talk about this? Or you have somebody talking about this at your event?
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about that. And part of the reason that movement makers are being invited is to make sure that there's going to be connections that help people level up.
Nice.
Guarantee, like you said, you go to these events and there's people on your level, there's people below your level, and there's people above you. Well, I'm guaranteeing you the people above you. And they're all some of the kindest human beings I've ever met in my life, who are willing to give their time and energy to help other people.
Well, it's like my right behind your left shoulder is Preston.
Yeah, Preston Smiles. Yeah,
I met him at Thrive, and nice. Him and his wife are just absolutely amazing. I love them. Their energy is contagious. So
100%. Yeah, he was actually, before I interviewed Ed, he was the episode where I said, that's the episode. If somebody says, what's the one episode? I was like, the Preston Smiles episode is a game changer, because he's just incredible human being. And
genuine.
And then there's other people above, which I'll have to introduce you to some people, like, since you're into the fitness space, like Natalie Jill and stuff like that, for you to connect with. And I think that'll kind of.
I'd be honored. Yeah. I mean, that's the other fun thing. Like, it's funny, after the first 6 months to a year of this show, I've been a networking junkie for years. I'm actually here in 2019, I'm moving beyond the word networking. Tom Schwab and I talked about this, because I said a lot of people have bastardized, I guess, how you would portray the true art of networking. And Michael O'Neill talks about this, because he created a training on that, and the art of the interview, I think it's called, his training. And the biggest thing that drives me nuts is that it's like when you go, remember, early in your career, did you ever go to like those Chamber of Commerce events?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Everybody has started there. And there's people to this day. It's just like people are just making it rain with their business cards. It's like, oh, how many can I get out today? There's no genuine connectivity. There's no genuine offer of transfer of influence is a term that I've been popping in my head lately. Like, so going beyond networking to me is becoming an influencer or helping other influencers connect with the right audience. So that's one thing that I took under my responsibility as a podcaster. I said, wait a minute, I pump out, since I founded this show, 2 shows a week. So like in a couple of weeks, I'm going to hit 250. So, and you've got a bigger show than I do. So it's interesting. So it's like, but I'm playing the long game. I'm not worried about it. Like I don't log into my site and stare at the downloads day in and day out. Yes, I will go.
You don't constantly hit refresh?
No. I mean, maybe when I first started. Yeah.
Oh, I totally did when I first started. I'm like, why is nobody listening?
And to this day, I still know the top performing episodes. Like there's this one guy, Dr. Jack Cruz. He's a famous neurosurgeon. big guy on blue blockers and
Yep.
brain health. And that dude, no one has touched his downloads. He's still the biggest spike in the show's history. So
That's amazing.
It's interesting how you get those
super
one-offs.
interesting. Does he have a huge following, or why do you think that is?
Oh, he's got a big following.
Yeah.
Because he's the weirdo to some people, because like he's very intelligent, and he's obsessed about teaching people about removing EMFs and obviously incandescent lights versus daylight and proper sleep cycles and brain health and all this stuff. He actually, you know about the biohacking and like Dave Asprey and Bulletproof Radio. So he's like, I remember we talked about this. This is back in 2017, I think. And he's just like, well, when you're ready, he's like, we're going to move you beyond the biohacking and move you into the mitohacking, because he talks about the mitochondria, which is the power plants within your cells. Like that's like so he's like, my followers, he's like, they're mitochondriacs, they're mitohackers. And I was like, whoa, wow. Okay, man, you're blowing my mind right now.
Yeah. Like I didn't even know this was a thing, let alone you're going to take me there, which is crazy. And it's funny you talk about the blue blockers and Dave Asprey. He owns a company called True Dark.
Yeah.
And one of the speakers at my event, Justin Cavanaugh, is the business consultant for True Dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's constantly in Austin. I think it's Austin, Texas. He flies out there and consults with the company and stuff like that, which is crazy. Just because the guy is known as like a top 5 speed and performance coach in the country. Like he trains guys to get ready for the NFL Combine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he's also like this great business mind. And he like consults with big companies like that. And people don't realize he does that thing because his branding for himself is the speed and performance coach.
It's interesting because in the health and fitness space, the biggest thing that I've found is that there is a lack of business knowledge. You find, I discuss this all the time because I drop into a lot of CrossFit boxes because I was coaching a class this morning, and I don't really coach anymore, but a buddy of mine owns a facility too. And he's just like, hey dude, can you come me on a class today? And I'm usually there working out anyway, because every Sunday we do a hero workout. So it's always honoring a fallen hero. And I was like, I got you. So, and I just competed in a competition yesterday. So really I needed today as a rest day anyway. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go in and yell at other people and get them motivated and get them sweaty. And I get to actually not work out. So
works out perfectly, right?
Exactly. So, and we're friends. We hung out on New Year's Eve and everything else. So I'm going to his wedding. They're coming to our wedding, all that stuff. So
that's awesome.
But
that's really cool.
But the biggest thing we all chat about is the lack of business knowledge. And there's constant passion. So one thing I love about the health and fitness space, there's constant passion. And you see CrossFit trainers want to create their own community, create their own box, create their own business. You see personal trainers do the same thing. If they're smart enough and they find a way to really niche themselves and they're really good at attracting people, you can build your own, you could be your own cycling consultancy. You could be your own running consultancy. But day in and day out, man, I'm constantly seeing people just don't have a clue on the business side. So
yeah, it's interesting because, and obviously I don't really know the space that well, but again, the guy I was just mentioning, he has a mastermind of gym owners and sports trainers, and he's teaching them the business side of it. And you realize I've spoken at 2 of his mastermind groups on different topics, and you realize how, like you said, there's not much on the business side. They were just good at a sport, or they were, they're super fit and they get into it because like, I know this, but they don't know the back end business side of things. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, let's tie it back to podcasting, right? I mean, what was the stats you were just saying? How many podcasts launched in 2018?
It's something ridiculous, like
250,000
or something. Yeah,
it's stupid, right? So, but I remember back when I first started, there was some of the similar statistics every single year. There's thousands of shows that launch every single year. Just in the CrossFit space alone, I mean, it's kind of died down in the past year or two, but when CrossFit really started blasting their brand and they became big and the games started happening and the games were on the ESPN, you just saw boxes opening left and right. And for the newer listeners, boxes are a gym. But then you give it a couple of years, people get burned out. They never really learned how to build a sustainable business. They never understood about proper profit management, et cetera, et cetera. And to this day, I got friends of mine here in the Lehigh Valley. There's probably 10 boxes around here within 30 minutes drive in different directions. And the one box, I think the owners still live in their parents' basement. I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
busted his butt every day for this thing and living in your parents' basement.
He's like, oh, because I love what I do. And I'm like, I get it, but there's a balance here.
Yeah.
Like, I love podcasting. I don't get paid to do it like you do, but I could, if I ever wanted to pick that as a niche, I'm sure I could learn from you and figure that out one day.
Look, I also want to point this out. Like, I don't make money from the conversations I'm having. I've just understood the space well enough that I've, began consulting, and then it became production, and then, everything else. But podcasting is something very, very difficult to make money doing. There's very few people that just from their show alone, like, there's not many Lewis Howes of the world who was a nobody and decided to just start chatting with people. Right.
Well, he did have the football background. I mean, that helped.
That's a whole nother conversation. I've known Lewis since 2009.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so that's something that I don't talk about while recording.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all, I will say this though, former professional athlete, because he played one arena football game. Come on now.
Yeah.
But look, dude, that guy, and this is what I say about Lewis, he is the master of branding.
Mm-hmm.
And his live event is what I'm modeling after, because I really believe in find the master find the master, follow the model, right?
Yep.
His live event is bonkers. It's an amazing event. It's game changing. I've been every year.
He's high energy.
It's high energy. Dude, I watched him, and this is no joke. If you want to talk about the business side of things, I saw him this last year when I was there make $200,000 in an hour.
Yeah.
Because he sold 1,000 tickets at $200 a piece before, like, on the stage. It might have been within 20 minutes. Like,
let me guess. Did he do a pre-buy before next year's event?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
See, the same thing happens at Thrive. They're like, hey guys, we're unlocking the ticket for next year's event. If you buy it now, it's not going to be at this price ever again. And that's what I did every single year. I always bought the next year's Thrive ticket. So
100%. And look, total transparency. I am selling something from the stage at Growth Now Movement Live. It's tickets to next year. Yeah. I'm doing it. Like, it's, again, find the master, follow the model.
Well, here's the other thing. I don't frown on that, because if you're that confident in your event and your event is going to kick ass, I expect it. I want to see that happen. I mean, some people might look at that like, oh yeah, here he goes. There's always some kind of catch or whatever. Like, there's no catch, dude. If you don't want to buy the ticket, don't buy the ticket. I'm just saying, I'm committed to bring this event back next year. I want to see if we have a guaranteed percentage of butts in the seats, because then that might help me level the event up next year.
Exactly.
And isn't that the master plan for events, is to try and level it up every year?
Yeah, man. My big vision is to sell out the Santander Arena one day, man. Like, I want this thing to grow, and I want it to really become a movement. Like, the growth thing is something I've lived every single day of my life, and have grown leaps and bounds over specifically the last year or so. But the movement part, even though I have a great following on my podcast, I just feel like I'm talking to a computer screen, and then all of a sudden people happen to be listening. Like, I want to truly, yeah, right. Exactly. Like, I talk all the time about how podcasting is the most lonely thing, even though you're connecting with people. Like, all of a sudden the recording ends, and then you just go, oh man, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's typical. You're just living in your own world. But I want to create the movement part. And that's why I'm doing the event. Like, let's live this brand fully. And I want to see this thing grow, man. And it's more of like, how many lives can I impact? And it's done. You said it earlier, like, live events, game changer.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I have the marketing background. I've done event management. I've done just like you. And it's not like that hasn't popped into my head, because I go to other people's events. I'm like, oh, maybe one day I'll run some event. But then I started enjoying speaking like you. And I said, well, why do I have to have my own event? I'll just speak. I love speaking. My fiance will tell you I have the annoying gift of gab. I will talk to anybody. So
you've got a great podcaster's voice. I'll give you that.
I've been told that. Yeah. So I think it's the Heil PR40. I really think it's all Mike. I don't know. I mean, I do show respect to the technology. So, but I have been told that I do a good job on the mic. So I said, great. Hopefully one day people respect that. I mean, I actually do have, like, I've had shows get thousands of downloads. I'm not consistently hitting the 15K per episode. I'm excited when I see an episode, like, within the first 24 hours, exceed a couple hundred. Like, there you go. Boom. That's, it's got a good consistent following. So,
dude, like, I say to everybody, when my clients say to me, oh, I'm only doing 150, 200 downloads an episode, I go, look, dude, you're a public speaker, right? And he goes, yeah. And I go, would you show up to that room every single week if I guaranteed you 100 to 200 people? Yeah. Of course. Well, why aren't you, like, approaching this with the same enthusiasm? And on top of that, it's probably close to the same 200 people every week. Like, these people love you. Like, this is your tribe, man. Like, you're growing something. And that's the beauty of podcasting. This is the only long form medium that we consume anymore as humans.
Yeah.
Is podcasts. And so it's the greatest way to build a relationship with your audience. I
tell people that all the time. Like, why do you still do it? I'm like, but actually, not just because of the listeners, but I personally enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I love, because I have people ask me all the time now, because I've always been the health and fitness nut. Like, well, how do you keep up with everything? I said, well, I love it when I get on new guest co-hosts who know more than me, because I'm actually picking their brains. You know, you and I are geeking out about events and personal and professional growth today, which just fuels my fire anyway. Like, that's live the fuel, dude. Like, it says fuel up on my coffee mug for a reason. Like, it's like, this is what you do. I get to fuel up every time I talk to somebody like you, a fellow influencer. I get to then pass that knowledge on to my listeners. Then my listeners learn about you because you're a fellow podcaster. Sweet. That means they can go listen to your show. And there's all this cross-pollination going on. I've spoken to podcasters about this all the time. Like, guys, go on each other's show. You don't understand the power of that. Yep. Cross-pollination.
Dude, not only that, honestly, like, so when I speak, I do like the top 5 things to grow your audience. I think number 2 on the list is you have to get in front of podcasters, and you do that by getting on shows and getting in front of the right audience. You do that, like, say you're doing 3,000 downloads an episode. I think the conversion rate's usually 1 to 10%, depending on how bad or good I am as a guest. And those people will check me out. If they like my show, they stick around. If they don't like my show, like, I always, when I get on bigger shows, like, there's always a spike in my numbers. Always.
Oh yeah, it's inevitable.
Like, yeah, like, I was actually just on Do It Scared with Ruth Sukup, and like, her show is massive. She's got to be doing, if I had to guess, she's probably doing 30 to 40,000 downloads an episode. And like, I had a spike. Like, I don't notice them as much when I'm on other shows, because again, the majority aren't doing really anything. Yeah. But it's the greatest way to grow your show is to get in front of people that you know are listening to podcasts. Only 28% of Americans listen to podcasts on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So if you have
growing,
yeah, well, I mean, 2 years ago it was 14%. Like, the listenership is growing like crazy. But again, 28% is a very small niche market, and that's people that listen to only one show a month. Like, it might be only one episode a month or whatever that they listen to. So, how do you really grow that audience?
My one client listens to podcasts, but he doesn't even do it through apps. He will only do it on his web browser.
Really?
On his computer. I was like, really? I mean, he's older, but I said, hey, at least you're listening to podcasts. But yeah, he's the same way. He's not a consistent listener of a lot of content. And if he does listen, it's going to be from his desktop, not from an app or from a smartphone. And I was like, wow, you are very unique.
Yeah. Who's your favorite podcast? Like, who do you listen to?
Oh, I have a consistent, like, obviously that's how Vinny, I think, got to know me, because I've been listening to his show and I tweet every single episode. I share his show from the app. Every single time I complete an episode, I tweet it. I've been doing that for 5 years. So that was another reason why he kind of knew me, because he retweets every one of mine, because that guy lives on Twitter. I don't care about Twitter. I just share stuff on Twitter, whatever. I'm more on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. But Vinny's one of my top ones. Michael O'Neill, I've always been subscribed to him. He was actually my first coach. He coached me. I was in with his private mastermind group when I got the podcast going. So awesome. I've stayed subscribed to him out of respect and loyalty there. And I pop in and out of his show once in a while. I've been really enjoying the MF CEO.
Yep. Andy Frisella, he's been on my show.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm all the way up on him. He doesn't put out a lot of content, actually. He's not like you and I. Like, I'm a long form guy.
Yeah, he's pretty short term. He just wants to drop his knowledge and get off.
It depends though. Like, I mean, the last 3 were 20 some minutes. Then like 2 before that was 94 minutes. So, and then I pop in and out on Joe Rogan, but it drives me nuts sometimes. And I love the social media marketing podcast by Michael Stelzner. I don't know if you heard of him. So that's just, I do that just for research to keep myself up on stuff. So,
yeah, I mean, I've become more, so I don't absorb as much content as I used to. But I've become more of like, okay, I want to learn something. Is there a podcast on that?
Yeah.
And so I'll absorb content that way, because you can do it when you're driving, you can do it when you're cleaning, working out, whatever. It's just huge. I mean, it's just so easy to absorb that content. But I listen to Rogan. I like Jocko. Do you listen to Jocko?
Yeah, I'll pop in and out on Jocko.
Yeah, he's a character.
He's edgy, man.
I just emailed him trying to get him on the show, an immediate response of like, he's too busy to do shows right now. Try again later in the year. I'm like, thanks.
But you see, that's like sales 101. The door's not closed.
Right.
No, it just means not right now.
No, right, exactly. And that's what they said. They said try again later in the year or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll probably say the same thing then. But that's, people ask me all the time, like, before my show did well, they're like, how do you get these big names on your show? And I was like, I just ask.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of people don't have the balls to ask.
Yeah.
Like, guys, like, people ask me that when I got my show going too. Like, how do you keep getting guest co-hosts? I was like, one, most of my shows in the beginning were in person, so it was easy for me to connect that way. It took more work. But then it got to the point where I'm like, wait a minute, if I'm listening to somebody else's show and I liked that person, I would look up their profile and tweet them. Or I would DM them nowadays on Instagram or something like that. Like, guys, like, reach out, Facebook message, LinkedIn message, Twitter message. The technology's there. You don't actually have to call somebody anymore.
Yeah.
I've never placed a phone call to get somebody on my show. It's always been
neither have I.
Word of mouth, or the tweet thing, or the Instagram thing, or whatever.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, so the keynote at my event, Fabio Viviani, I interviewed him, and right after the interview goes, who do you want to interview? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'll introduce you to whoever. He ended up writing 50 individual emails, introduced me to people. That's how I got Bella. That's how, yeah.
I've always loved that guy. I mean, my fiance and I have like watched all those chef shows, and I just always dig that guy.
Dude, he is one of the most genuine human beings on the planet. His companies are blowing up. So 2017, they did 100 million. 2018, they did 200 million. And they're projecting $500 million in 2019. Just
did he mention if it was thanks to Top Chef or what?
So he's always been a successful business person. So even before Top Chef, he became a millionaire and lost it all, and then was building his wealth again.
Yeah. Well, if you're a legit millionaire,
what's that?
If you're a legit millionaire, that means you have legit, meaning you actually have a good head on your shoulders. You can always make it back.
Right, exactly. And he's obviously made it back tenfold. Now the celebrity of that show has really helped him. I mean, he's probably the most recognized person from America's Top Chef, however many seasons they've done, because he's got a great personality. Mm-hmm. But he didn't even win. And he's still one of the most recognized people. So I think he was the runner-up or whatever, but he was a fan favorite. I've never seen the show. I told him that. He's like, that's okay. I still like you. I'm like, thanks, man. But he just opened up a food court in the Hollywood Casino in like out towards Harrisburg.
He opened a food court?
Yeah, it's like a higher-end food court. Yeah, like he's everything.
I mean, like food court's like a mall food court, right?
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a pizza spot. There's a burger spot. There's like, but everything he does is like different concepts, but he partnered with Penn National Gaming. And so I just went out there. Like, this is how genuine he is. I brought my buddy who owns a coffee and donut shop here, who just loves Fabio. So I brought him. I'm like, yeah, man, come on. He just invited me to this opening thing. Let's go. Fabio spent 25 minutes just talking business with him. Like, this is how you franchise out. This is the best way to do it. Like, those are the types of people that I saw Fabio speak on a stage, and immediately I went, I need to be friends with that guy. When I saw him speak, and a year and a half later, I had him on the show, and then we became friends.
Well, that's why I told Andre, and he's just like, you got to connect up with you. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay. And then I was like, okay, we'll get around to it. And I was like, and I want to make sure that I offer him to come on my show first, because that I believe in giving more than you receive. And one thing I've always done is any person's show that I've ever on, if I'm on somebody else's show, it's like second nature to me. I will share the hell out of it. I hit my email list. It gets on social media. And the funny thing is, to this day, that is still a struggle, depending on the guest co-host, to get them to follow through on stuff like that. And I don't get upset with it anymore. I'm like, you're just missing out, because this is fresh new content that you didn't have to create. That's powerful.
You're 100% right. So here is so this is a tip, right? So this is how you get people to share it out. Because I've had Lillian Garcia was just on my show. She shared it out on her Instagram, Facebook, or Instagram stories. Like, she shared it everywhere. But here's the key. You go, your show's live. Everybody, I'm already getting great feedback. People are loving it. And then I point out something that they said, which was like genius within the episode. And I go, they're really loving this. Like, Ed Milet came on and talked about the blue Honda concept, where when you buy a blue Honda, all you see is blue Hondas.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, like, they're loving that. Like, people are messaging me about that. I think the world needs to hear this. I would love it if you'd share it out. And it gives them the confidence to then share it out. People question whether they were a good guest. They question whether they gave good content. They question themselves. So when you kind of stroke their ego, they then share it out. So that's something that I teach people. And it really works. Ed Milet shared it out with his email list.
Huh.
His email's 1 million strong.
That's strong.
Yeah. huge. And I was like, whoa, like that's insane, man. I'm just glad that I feel honored, right? Like I just feel blessed every day that things like this are happening.
Hey,
But
see, I didn't think about that because there's other podcasts who forget to tell me that they aired my show or my guest appearance on their show. And I find out like a week or two later, or I happen to monitor their show and I'm like, oh, I'm up. So then I go share. Like, why didn't you tell me? I would have shared it right away because
right.
I believe in the old little quote of sharing is caring. So I never thought about stroking the ego, but it makes perfect sense because every time I air an episode, I send out an email. It has the YouTube link. It has the episode link to my website. It has all the graphics. So I make sure your headshot and everything is done in an Instagram-friendly format. So you already have the photo. And people still don't understand. I'm like, I was like, the file name says Instagram dash, and then they post the Facebook-friendly format to Instagram. And I'm like, we made you an Instagram-friendly photo. Like, and you're posting the YouTube one that I sent you or the Facebook one. I'm like, I'm thinking about this year. I might just not send that and just give them the Instagram and that's it. But
yeah, I mean, Instagram has the best engagement now at all social media, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. I literally duplicate my Instagram to my Facebook page because Facebook is a pay to play platform. It's not worth my energy.
Right.
I have more friends on Facebook than I have my likes on my page. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm the same. And well, I mean, my friends see my posts. People don't see my page posts.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's crazy. I mean, I told you my one client has 2 million followers, and she screenshot it when she shared something out. Her organic reach, 2 million likes on her page. It was 2,000 people saw it.
Oof.
Like, could you imagine? Like, she did all that work, and then
that's painful. That's painful. You spent all that time building that kind of following, and that's what you end up getting out of it because you didn't boost it. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That doesn't work either.
No, I mean, I get it. It's a business. And I have a friend of mine. She's a yogi. And she's just like, oh, well, Scott, how can I increase I don't get a lot of engagement on my posts. I'm like, don't worry about it. Grow it on Instagram. She's trying to build like more of a business friendly yoga, like to have companies bring her in and work with their employees anyway. I was like, get it on LinkedIn. I'm like, stop with Facebook.
Yeah. LinkedIn. I mean, a couple of years ago, LinkedIn almost shut down, right? And now they're killing it.
Yeah, I've been on LinkedIn since it was founded. So I've always supported the platform. It's interesting. They're really trying to make it more social-esque. They're giving a lot more functionality. You can post videos now and everything else. So it's interesting. I love monitoring the market. I love to see how things are shifting and who's trying to stay ahead of the next guy. And
so let me ask you this, and it's funny because I'm like, that's why I like this co-host kind of thing because I can ask you questions. So since you're podcasting, question I get all the time. And I don't always get the opportunity to ask people is where do you see podcasting going? Because everybody asks me that question. So I have my answer, but I don't know what other people are thinking.
Well, one, because I do it, I think that people need to stop using Skype. That's just me. And using things like Zoom like I'm using. Because I can't tell you how many times my own client, Vinny, like complains when he uses Skype when it has a technical issue. I'm like, why do you think I stopped using it? It's like, I believe in having skin in the game. I pay for Zoom. It's even the most entry-level package. You can get Zoom for free, but the most entry-level package, like $15-20 a month. And I can personalize my IDs and brand it and everything else. And so one, get more professional. I'd like to see more professional podcasts, like taking their art seriously. The other piece of it is obviously the video. That's another reason I went to Zoom. I started airing video back on episode 51. So with Jack Cruz, actually, I think was the first video episode. And the reason why is I'm playing the long game. I know that YouTube, even though it has its ups and downs, will never drop away because Google owns it. Okay, come on. It's Google. They want their stuff to rank. And I'm playing the long game. So I'm thinking that my hypothesis is that audio is still hugely valuable. It's more intimate, but if you can double dip on the video front too, I don't call it a video podcast. I'm just taking what you and I did here today and I'm dumping it into YouTube. I'm not doing any crazy editing or anything else. Other people are doing all kinds of elaborate stuff. I was like, I love to keep it simple.
Yeah. And video editing is not fun.
No.
So if you can avoid video editing, avoid it at all costs. Yeah, it's funny.
I thought about getting an intern just for that. Somebody who geeks out about video and let them have fun with that. So
yeah, it's smart. But like, dude, I'll tell you, it's funny that you said that because I told you I was just speaking with Chris Krimitsos the other day. the guy who founded Podfest. And
Yeah.
we talked about that. And that was a take that I didn't think about, because I used to upload the videos on YouTube, but nobody watched them. And I was like, this is a waste of my time because the video editing is pain. And so he then mentions, like, he's like, look, you have to understand that YouTube is now going to a format where you can close YouTube on your phone and you can still hear what it is.
Yeah, it's YouTube Red. That's already, you got to pay to have that.
Right.
But yeah.
But like that's happening. And he goes, and we're heading towards, within the next 5 to 10 years, autonomous cars, and people are going to be absorbing more video content again. Like
right now, there's already cars coming out podcast ready in their stereo systems.
Right. Which I love.
It's super awesome.
I love it. And then we talked a little bit about Alexa. It's such a small percentage right now, but you got to be there. Like if you say, Alexa, play the Growth That Movement podcast, she plays the last episode.
Interesting.
It's cool. But it's like less than 1% of people are listening that way right now.
Okay.
But I imagine that's going to explode at some point once they really figure out how.
I always tell people, I mean, I don't consult at your level, but I've helped a few friends of mine, get their podcast going, or colleagues I've met. And I just tell them, like, listen, if it feels right, go for it. Yeah. Don't kill yourself running a podcast, but it needs to be passionate. You got to enjoy it. You have to look forward to getting on the microphone on a Sunday, like you and I.
Yeah.
But that's the point. But that's why I'm like, I'm not going to overly edit my YouTube. I want it to be more real behind the scenes like this. People are just watching, just like when podcasting, you feel like you're eavesdropping in on a conversation. I want to see how that does on the video front. And I've seen a massive spike. I went from like 300 followers on my YouTube this past year to over 1,600. And I haven't done, all I'm doing is just posting. But now YouTube sees me as a contributor because I'm posting minimum 2 videos a week, because I'm releasing 2 shows a week, let alone any other video content that I do. So here's the other thing. Thanks to Zoom, I've tested this on and off, but if I pay to add the webinar feature in on Zoom, which I've done on and off, I can make this right now live on Facebook this whole time. I've done that on a couple of podcasts, and I can do this. I can not do that, and I can sync it to YouTube, but I can go live on YouTube right now. So I'm considering possibly launching YouTube Live. I just don't want to freak out my guest co-hosts.
Yeah. I don't mind going live, but there's definitely a lot of people that are like, oh no, and they get nervous and then they hold back. And
people get nervous on this. Like they're like, oh, we are doing video. Like if you notice when, I don't know if you had you're an admin or somebody, or you signed up on my show. Yeah. I remind people in the form, I'm like, this is audio and video. That way you're not being blindsided. So I had somebody like, oh, hold on, let me go put my makeup on. I'm like, what? I don't know. Okay, do what you got to do. Put your makeup on.
You go do your thing. I use video all the time because I want to connect with people, but I don't share out the video 9 times out of 10. Like if it's a big, so I just had Drew Lynch on my show, and he's a comedian, but he also has 1.6 million followers on YouTube.
Wow.
So he was on my show 2 years ago, and that video ended up doing 21,000 views on YouTube. Everything else on YouTube, my YouTube is like 7 views.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to share that. I shared Bert Kreischer out on YouTube because he's, people love seeing his reactions to stuff. But
well, my methodology here is, listen, you and I are taking an hour out of our day to record a show. Why not double dip, score some audio, score some video? And then because I'm a branding and a marketing guy, I want to help people. Like people, not everybody has a huge following. So if I can generate you, my guest co-host, some new content, you've got extra material that you could use down the road or right away in your marketing, add it to your site, embed it, link it to your YouTube. Like I want to give as much as I can content wise. And then the ball's in your court, do what you want with it.
Exactly. No. And you're spot on. I just don't want to spend the time like but you're 100% spot on with that. Like it should, dude, the more places your content is, first of all, it just helps you with your SEO. It helps people find you. It does all that stuff. Like, no brainer. And now after speaking with you and Chris, I'm like, do I go back to video? Do I start doing that again? I guess I'm going to. I mean, all my episodes are on YouTube, but there's no video. Like it's just a picture.
You see, Vinny was doing that a while back, and then they stopped doing that. He now has a Zoom account, but I've only convinced him to use it a couple of times. He doesn't like change. And I'm like, dude, just embrace it, man. because every time I listen to your podcast and I hear you complaining about Skype performance, I'm like, I showed you how to use Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, so I do use Skype and
Yeah.
Ecamm, but I'm thinking about switching over to Zoom because I've had for years I never had. Everybody's saying there are issues with Skype, and I was like, I haven't had any, and now recently I've been having them. So.
Because Skype is a huge platform. I'm not trying to rip too heavily on Skype. It's an amazing technology. It's been around a long time. My issue with it is that every new podcaster, as you've hinted, wants to use it because that's what everybody wants to do. Yeah. And I'm not software based. I mean, right now, all of this audio is actually being offloaded through my mixer board into a different Zoom, the Zoom H5. I have a digital recorder here. That's what I travel with too. So that way, if all this shuts down, I could just hit pause, internet and everything comes back up, and I just keep going because I don't want to do a crazy amount of editing. So,
right. No, totally. Yeah.
And that's what Skype burned me a couple times, and I'm like, I don't have the time. I don't want to like make my guests come back, and then I got to rebook the show, and then I was like, no, I'm anal that way.
No, totally,
dude. I just bought an APC. Is that the brand? The backup battery cell. So now my internet routers can't go down.
That's awesome.
I have everything. I built a little tech closet in the laundry closet, and it's a very, very professional looking now. But I upgraded the modem, upgraded the Wi-Fi router, and then I installed the backup battery because 2 weeks ago, for the first time in 2.5 years, my entire house had a heart attack, and the internet went down.
Ugh.
Now, luckily, my guest co-host, like you, was still waiting there. So once the internet got rebooted, I'm standing here, and I'm like, so I hit pause. And I'm standing there, and Zoom actually didn't lose a beat. So because Zoom did its thing because it's a cloud. I don't know. And as soon as the internet came back up, like you were there.
Yeah.
So I just had to hit unpause on Zoom and unpause on my recorder, and we kept going. Yeah. But I just didn't want to deal with that again. So yeah.
I hear you, man. It's tough. I mean, I've definitely had like they'd freeze up. And it's like, oh gosh, what's happening here? Like that's not.
Well, you know the hack with Skype, right?
No.
The audio versus video data pipes.
Oh, like so if you turn off the video.
But no. So if you want maximum performance, don't even turn the video on. When you start the Skype call, if you activate video, it puts you into a different data pipe for performance than just pure audio. So a lot of people thought that, oh, I'm just going to turn video back off and I'll be fine. No, you're still stuck in that pipe. So if you want maximum performance on Skype, you should disconnect the call and reconnect with your cameras off on audio only. Oh. I only know that because I spent a few years in the IT space and I know how this stuff works.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did not know that at all.
Yeah, Sarah, I didn't think I'd be able to share anything with you that you wouldn't know. I'm like, all right, I got one.
No, I didn't know that at all. That was amazing.
Yeah, Skype, their network will dump you into a different performance pipe because now they're worrying about streaming audio and video, and they're not going to take you back out of that just because you turned your camera off. You're already in the pipe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, little things I learned.
That's crazy. That's really good to know because now I think about it, like when I've turned video off in past, like it hasn't really helped.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah.
So there's your hack, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody else listening to this using Skype, or if you want, start with the cameras on, say hi, like, all right, real quick, just for technical performance, let's try and get maximum audio. Let's disconnect our cameras. Let me hang up, reconnect with you, and then we're going to rock out. So it's an extra step, but it's worth it if it's going to give you better performance.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I saw that you did a live video with Andre at his house.
Yep.
But then I noticed the audio on your show was different. I was like, oh.
Yeah. So that's just a lapel mic, a high-powered lapel mic that I run from the iPhone on my tripod on his desk. But yes, because I have my Zoom digital recorder, we're physically recording with the high-end, not this, but a high-end, dynamic mic. So these are all XLR high-end cables, the 3-prong cables that the professionals, broadcasters, and musicians use. So
that's how it is. So like I told you about the live studio that I record in, they have all that stuff. Like it's just a great setup. Yeah.
I have like 4 other microphones here in my kit. So I could literally run 4 mics at a time on this Zoom and the recorder itself.
Right.
And that's why I've done live podcasts in a Starbucks, because with a dynamic microphone, it's only focused on what's here. So I've been worried about coffee grinding sounds, and then I go and listen to the episode later, and you don't even hear it.
That's amazing. That's really cool, actually. I got to invest in that stuff, man. I just don't have it.
Dude, it's cheap too. I mean, it's not a lot. I mean, this is expensive. This was like a $300 microphone, but and I started the show with this only because I had a guy who knows audio come over with a buddy of mine. He's like, dude, let's test some different mics. And we tested this one. He said, you got to stick with that one. I said, why? He's like, you sound like a mix between Howard Stern and like Barry Manilow. And I'm like, is that a good thing? He's like, well, I'm an audio engineer. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, you sound great. He's like, just go with it.
I love that.
I didn't know. Y'all, it's a newbie.
Like I said, man, you've got a great podcasting voice.
Thank you. I mean,
and I like to tell people I have a face for podcasting, so it works out.
I've been told I've got the gift of gab and I don't look too bad. So I was like, okay, so maybe I'll get into the public speaking and, because I have no problem getting on stage and talking to people. So
yeah, man. And public speaking can become really profitable. Like my friend Tom Singer, he's in the top probably 10% out of all public speakers. He's killing it. Multiple 6 figures a year only speaking. He has a podcast, but he doesn't monetize the podcast. But
no, you don't have to. And now I'm actually going to be releasing my first book. I mean, probably the only book. I don't know. I don't like writing. And you'll appreciate this. I wrote the entire book doing audio transcription. So I did not write the book.
Love it. Yeah. So who fixed that? Because audio transcription is not perfect.
I am. So there's a great app called Otter, like the animal, OTTER.ai. It's artificial intelligence. So when I'm traveling on business, I would have the iPhone in my car through Bluetooth and I would just talk. And 10, 15 minutes, I'm guaranteed at least 1,000-word chapter. That's how I did, all the chapters of the book. But now I'm in the pre-editing phase where I have to go back in. I've already exported all the files as text. The app exports them. I upload them into Word. But now I got to rebuild the paragraphs and all the structure. Yeah. But I have each chapter has its own Word document now. I just have to go through and do all the initial editing. And then I have a few other people that I know that do book editing. I want them to kind of take a peek at it. And then I'm going to self-publish. So using the Amazon platform.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that'll be another fuel for the fire, so to speak, on, maybe increasing the public speaking side of it, because the book is going to be about me when I serve, not me specifically, but the world of hotshot wildland firefighting, which is how I left the corporate space and it changed my life. And I want to donate the proceeds of the book to fallen firefighters because
that's cool.
I've never lost respect of that profession. So
yeah, man, I'll definitely be buying your book. So you just sold a book and it's not even out yet.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I mean, one thing I learned from great coaches over the years, and I know you being a growth guy care about this, is that, why are we doing all of this, right? Like, what is the legacy that you're trying to leave behind? That's something that I really amplified from going to all the Thrive, Make Money Matter events. So I look for that in an event now. I want to see the growth. I want to see people like you who care enough to try and help people build these legacies and inspire and motivate other people, because that's how my brand started. Like Live the Fuel actually stands for Live the Fired Up Epic Life. That's what it started with, because I started with a Facebook page posting motivational and inspirational images and content.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So you get it. I was wondering I should have asked you that, because I was wondering where that came from. That
came from a few coaching sessions with Michael O'Neill, and then a whole wall of Post-its, because I took every key word that meant something in my life, and I'm an adrenaline junkie. Like I skydive and I'm a firefighter and a CrossFitter, like all the crazy sports I do, mountain biking, racing, all that. And I took every epic, epic is big in the skiing space, and fired up, because I'm always fired up. I'm too much energy, and I have fire in the logo and all that. It was a very long branding exercise many years ago.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's a great brand. It definitely is a great brand. And yeah. And you had a good coach. I've heard great things about him. And him and I spoke at the same event, but I never talked to him. I didn't talk to him when we were there. But
he's a good guy. Yeah. He lives in the San Diego life, He's got some great weather.
So many podcasters are in San Diego.
Everybody's moving to San Diego.
All I ever hear from them is, why don't you move to San Diego?
I love that you and I are here in Pennsylvania.
That's right, dude. And it's so funny because my friends are like, dude, move out here, because there's a ton of podcasters in San Diego. I go, dude, I live in Redding, where I live like a king. If I moved to San Diego, I'd be broke as shit because you live in a 1-bedroom apartment paying $3,000 a month.
Yeah,
no thanks.
No.
It's just not for me, man.
I go to San Diego. I love it there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love San
Diego.
Diego.
Same way as you. Like I have goals here. I want to in the next 5 years. I want to start increasing some real estate investments and stuff like that. Like I can't do that there.
No.
I shouldn't say I can't. I don't like that word, but I just choose not to because I want to make more money so totally. I can create more change in the world. Well, you're not going to do that in San Diego market.
There's something that I talk about all the time. It's called ROI, which is return on impact.
Oh, a little flip on the word there. I like that.
So my goal is to always make an impact with everything that I do. I end almost every conversation with, how can I help you? And I'm genuinely honest about that. Like, that's how I've built relationships with some of the top influencers, billionaires, whatever you want to say, that are like, I'm the last person that should be having the friends that I have. Like, let's be real. At a 1.7 GPA, my junior year of high school, my mom had a 20-year opioid addiction. My dad was in jail. Like, all signs pointed to, you're going to suck, kid. And I was fortunate enough that I've always thought of something bigger than myself. And I go, well, how do I make an impact in this world? And I know that if I make the right impact, I'll have it returned to me tenfold without even thinking about it. That's why I'm holding my event in Reading. Like, my podcast gets played everywhere, right? I could have it in Philly. I could have it in New York. I could sell more tickets doing that. But I'm holding it in Reading because I want to make an impact here in Reading for the city.
One thing I appreciate about Andre. I mean, he's always, that's why I wanted to come to him this time, because he and I have always met up here in Allentown. And I was like, dude, I'm going to come down to you, man. Let's hang out.
Did you meet his pig?
Yeah. What is up with that? I was not ready for that. I grew up I'm a farm kid, dude. Like, I was like, dude, I eat that.
Yeah, dude, I walked in. I had no idea. The first time I ever walked in his house, I was like, what is that? Oh, he's like, oh yeah, I have a pig. I feel like that's something you tell people before they come over to your house.
I mean, what was it, at least in the dog crate? Well, in his case, pig crate?
It was, and we were recording something, and he kept making noise, so we had to let him out, and then it came over and tried to eat my shoelaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a small pig either. This, ladies and gentlemen, we're not talking about like a guinea pig.
Yeah. Like we're talking a big pig.
I mean, it's not full-blown sow hog level, like, production pig, but I don't know. What do you think the weight is on that?
Yeah. It's got to be 50 pounds.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. Like, he's the size. Our coon hound, yeah, that might be 80. I don't.
Jeez.
It's got some girth.
Just feed it popcorn. He feeds it popcorn. It's so bizarre, man. But I do, dude. Andre's got the great little cigar room down in the basement. Did you see that?
Oh, we did. He took me on the whole tour. His wife loves to design.
Yeah.
Wow. I told him he should put a studio down there in the cigar lounge. We actually were thinking about recording in there, and I was worried about the audio.
So the lighting is not the best in that room.
And the lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the cigar lounge is legit. I mean,
his basement's insane.
They've put a lot of work into that house. I know they're proud of that house, and his wife works hard. He works hard. I'm always. He and I talked about it on that episode. I was like, dude, I'm excited to see your growth always continuing. He sets a good example for somebody like me, who I've never been married, and now I'm getting married. But I was like, dude, more power to you, man. Like, you're an inspiration. So he's definitely one of those hashtag super dads. So
yeah, he's doing it right, man. And I feel blessed that he's a good friend of mine, that we get coffee at least once a month.
Okay. I didn't know you guys connected that much.
Yeah. He's a really good dude. He's coming to my event, so I'm excited about that. And so if you guys are listening to this and you want to meet Andre, this guy with the pig that we're talking about, his pig won't be there, but he'll be there.
Andre Young of You Evolving Now.
Yes.
So yeah.
He's a good dude.
Well, I mean, I love all of our brands, man. Like, you got, I'm Live the Fuel, right? You got a Growth Now movement. We got You Evolving Now. Like, these are the people hearing this. These are the people. I'm not saying me. I'm saying my co-host here. We're talking about. These are the people that you need to be getting yourself outside of your comfort zone and connecting with. Don't knock it till you try it. I mean, come to the event and then, okay, maybe you don't get something out of it. I find it hard to believe because it's called Growth Now Movement. I mean, I don't understand why you wouldn't get something out of that. And from the influencers that you already have lined up, that's pretty solid. Yeah. For your first event, by the way. So
yeah, dude, I already have 3 speakers for next year too.
You've already lined up next year's lineup?
Yeah. Wild, man. Like I said, I feel blessed. And the people that I have for next year, I didn't think they would say yes. And I was just talking with them about the event, and they're like, hey, do you need another speaker? And I was like, I don't, I'm packed, but if you want to do it next year, they're like, I'm in. So I feel blessed, man. I can't say that enough. I feel like I oversay it, but I wake up every single morning and I feel blessed that I get to live the life that I'm living right now.
I'm fired up for you too, man, because I'm tired of people always saying, and I'm guilty of this. Like a few times I've popped through Reading over the years, I would never really look highly on the market, right? Let's be real. It's some of the inner city urban areas, but like, you know what? Allentown has got the same problems, and challenges. I don't call them problems. We'll call them challenges, opportunities to improve. And you know what? Like, dude, I love the fact you're staying true to your home and representing. So
thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it means so much. Like I try everything I try and do. I try and make it a win-win-win. Like who else can win beyond just the two people involved? And I was like, let's just do the whole city of Reading. And also fortunate enough that Inc.com will be there to cover the event post-event.
Dude, that's legit, by the way. Yeah. I mean, that's strong.
And I didn't pay for that, by the way. There's people that pay to be on lists. I did not pay to be on that list. I just want to put that out there.
They're just that confident in you?
I was fortunate, it is as far as them coming into the event. So the guy who wrote the article that I was on, the top 8 podcasts, he happened to listen to my show.
Okay.
So he put me on the list. He's then coming to my event and he's like, yeah, man, I'll write an article about it. I'll bring my assistant. We'll write an article about it. We'll get it covered. And that's such a big win for not just the event year over year, but for Reading. Like to say this entrepreneurial event or this forward-thinking event is being held in Reading when everybody looks at Reading and goes, who cares, right? Well, first of all, they think it's Reading. And then
it's like Lancaster versus Lancaster,
Yep. And the funny thing is I actually grew up in South Jersey. I've just lived my whole adult life here.
I was born in Jersey.
Yeah, nice. What part?
Flemington, Hunterdon County. So
nice. I grew up in Ocean City, so like on the beach.
Oh, dude, I used to bike down there every year. I did the Cities of the Shore.
Oh yeah,
I used to raise money for MS every year. I did the 150 miles. Yeah, I'm a huge cyclist. So
yeah, that's amazing. Actually, 150 miles is no joke.
Well, we actually always did 175. I mean, even though it's the MS 150, for crazy people, they give you the option on day one to do 100 miles just on day one. So we always did that. We like to maximize everything. So
clearly. I see this. That's a little intense.
Yeah. I get bored.
Wild. But yeah, so like I said, I try and have everything be a win-win-win. And I looked at it as an opportunity. It's a little bit harder. But at the same time, like, what is it hard?
I said this at dinner last night to that girl. I was like, listen, if life was meant to be easy, I mean, it'd be really freaking boring. I kept it that simple. I'm like, how boring would life be if everything was easy? Yeah. There's no growth. Growth comes from the suck, from embracing the suck, the challenges, the roadblocks, the speed bumps, whatever you want to call them. That's where the maximum growth happens.
100%, man. I wrap up every single one of my podcast episodes with the same question. And that is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth? And it's always the rock bottom moment. It's always the oh shit, what am I going to do next moment?
Yep.
Always. 100%. And that's everybody, by the way. Like I asked that question to prove a point. Like these people, even though their life looks great now, like it hasn't always been that way. And I want to give hope to the hopeless. I want people to understand that like, just because I came from a certain background or where I'm even at now, like that stuff doesn't matter. What matters are the choices you're making today to get to the next level for tomorrow. Because dude, all we have is right now. And so often people think that they are their past, they are their story, but that's the reason they are that's not who they are. And so we have to
I've discussed that multiple times on my show too. My own transparencies that has grown and my own willingness to share vulnerability through this show. I've had to grow. Like I tell people all the time, podcasting has actually helped me grow as a person. It's allowed me to get even more transparent, even more vulnerable. And that's now manifesting into my relationship better and everything else in my life. And the flow of energy is just profound. And, but that doesn't happen overnight. The common phrase that I put in here, being the health and fitness nut, is like, dude, you got to put in the reps, right? It's like, dude, it's going to suck in the beginning, guys. All right. Trust me, that CrossFit comp I did yesterday, I mean, my team came in third for our division. I was proud of that. I got a little medal on the wall. Thanks. But I was like, I also came off of displacing a rib in my back 2 weeks ago. And yesterday at the end of the workout, I almost passed out because I still can't breathe properly. I didn't think about it, but I'm like, hey, I'm not going to bow out. That sucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
wild.
he still went through it. I didn't back down. So, because then I had that feeling of what if, right? I don't want the what if in life. If you're going to make a mistake or if you're going to fail, let it fail. Because then those are those powerful things you can carry into the next steps.
100%, man. Yeah, I love all that.
I got to get you connected to another guy, by the way. I think he lives in Maryland or Virginia. I had him on my show and I went on his show. His name is Trey Downs, Your Superior Self. You ever hear of him?
I don't know that one. No.
He's a newer podcaster, but he's very inspiring, very moved. But he's all about helping the blue collar world because that's where he comes from. And here you'll get a kick out of his logo. I'll do a little screen share again here for the video watchers. But he was on episode 231. So I love the whole little animation he did there on the graphic where it's like, hey, he's got the plaid shirt / suit going on there.
Oh, that is cool.
Right? I thought that was cool. So, but he's
I've seen that. He might actually reach out to me on Instagram.
Okay.
I think because I've seen that. I have seen that logo before.
Well, he just messaged me the other day because he's like, dude, he's like, actually he tagged me on social media because I was on his show and he said that episode crushed it. He's like, dude, you crushed it. He said, my listeners love that episode. I was like, then that's all I could ever ask. Cause like, if I could help you grow your show and people love the content, I mean, thank you for letting me know that. It makes me feel better because that's all. If I go on somebody else's show, I want to bring it, man. Like they're honoring me by letting me come on their show. Like, I'm not going to like pull punches. Let's go all in.
Yep. Dude, you're absolutely right. And that's how I look at it when I guest. I try my best to at least add some sort of value. It doesn't always work out. Like I've realized sometimes I'm after an interview, I go, what the hell did I just say? You ever do that?
But dude, like there's all these different nuggets you dropped in today, not just podcasting tips, but growth tips and like the question that you do at the end of all your episodes. I love that. That's so simple and clean. But if you could leave people thinking at the end of an episode like that, because I don't do that exact way, but like actually to help bring our show to a close, you're going to be giving us some final words. I have all my guest co-hosts help close the show out because I'm like, hey, is there an all-encompassing message that you are trying to get out to the world? Back to that point I have on legacy, right? What's the legacy you leave behind? Is there something inspirational you want to leave behind? Like, yeah, I'll close the show out, but I'd rather have it, end on your words. So, And actually on that note, we've been rapping for a while. Maybe we want to do that.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'd love
to. We're totally over our time slot. I apologize.
No, you're good, man. You're good. I love the conversation. Hopefully everybody else listening loves the conversation.
That's the goal. I mean, hey, the people are used to the long format. That's the way it's always been, and I'm not going to stop it. So
no, I loved this conversation because it was truly a two-way conversation. Like it wasn't like, I loved it, man. So first of all, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
And to everybody listening, like the reality is this, like wherever you are in life right now, that's exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think sometimes we often think we're supposed to be something different than we are, but we're not. So you are exactly who you're supposed to be. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. If you want to make the future better, you have to make choices to get better, right? You have to take that first step towards growth. You have to take that first step towards the goal because you're not going to get that goal overnight. And what all that matters is really the journey. And so what I say to everybody is it doesn't matter where you come from and it doesn't even matter where you are right now. What matters are the decisions you're making today to move forward, whether that's going to live events like we talked about, whether that's listening to this podcast, whatever it is, you're making the right choice right now. So step forward into the person you're supposed to be.
Dude, now that's some final words. Oh, got me fired up, dude. I'm actually going on somebody else's podcast in 25 minutes. Like you just juiced me for her. And actually, I don't know if you've heard of her. She's known as Amy J.
I don't know that name.
She does podcasting for Joe Pardo with MapCon and everything else as well.
Oh,
so
nice.
She's awesome. It sounds like we both have huge networks. I could throw people your way.
I'm more than happy to make connections where connections can be made. And, let me know how I can help in any way, shape or form. And hopefully we can connect since you're so close, connect and grab a coffee.
Oh, dude, I'm a road warrior. I did 37,000 miles in 2017. I have to
on your bike. No, I'm just
That'd be sick. I would have to kick my own ass for that one. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
No, that was the car. Shout out to Subaru. They make an amazing vehicle. I just do a lot of travel for business, but yeah, I'm down in Reading every few months anyway. So, or at least passing through that area. Well, listen, hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do one last screen share for the video watchers to show some respect to the YouTube life. But again, his brand, growthnowmovement.com. And a reminder, you can actually hit G as in George, N as in Nancy, M as in Mary, GNMlive.com to get directly to the conference information. Because guess what? I'm going. So if I'm going, that means you have to go. So it's right here in Reading, Pennsylvania. If you're within the tri-state area or you're a jet setter and you're looking for something new, you might want to check it out. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another Live the Fuel show. Again, we're always here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. We definitely did that today. So tune in next time, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.